So welcome to this panel session on digital product passports. Differently from what was just said, the digital product passport is not just a regulatory burden. And this is where I hope that we will convince the members of this assembly this afternoon that the digital product passport is actually a tool for market transformation and innovation. So I assume, I'm a research engineer from CEA, and my job is about helping industry adapt and adopt digital innovation tools, of which the digital product passport is an important one. The digital product passport, or DPP, is actually a European law since 2024 and will become mandatory in the European Union starting next year in 2027, and will become applicable to most products sold on the European market progressively over the coming years. And so the DPP is really should be seen as an information system for the circular economy. And this is why we wanted to come here to this exposition where you're all focusing on innovation for circular economy to talk how digitalization will support your efforts, right? So I assume that most people in this audience do not know much about the digital product passport yet. And so I brought together 4 people who will talk to you about what the DPP is from their perspective, okay? So we will, I'll first introduce the members of this panel. So first, my good friend Anne-Christine Ayed from AOC Innovation. She is an innovation manager who's worked for more than 20 years in circular economy, and she has brought circularity and sustainability as a support to innovation in industry. Okay, and in this role has become aware of the importance of data. So Anne-Christine will bring the perspective of industry. Then I will invite Marion Rousseau she's a transformation leader and strategic advisory practitioner focusing on data-driven sustainability and circularity. She has written a wonderful book on how DPP is going to transform consumer relations, and she will bring the perspective of the consumer to the DPP. Then I will invite Xavier, who is Environmental Performance Director at Ecosystem. So Ecosystem is a French producer responsibility organization. And for electrical and electronic equipment. So they have a big stand here in the salon. And batteries as well, yes. So he works on circular economy strategies and DPP with a focus on traceability, repair and reuse, and interoperability across value chains. And so Xavier will bring you the perspective on DPP from the view of a professional responsibility organization. What is their role in this DPP for them? And finally, my good friend Holger, he's Vice Director of the Circular Economy Division and co-head of the Digital Transformation Research Unit at the Wuppertal Institute in Germany. And so he's been very active in international DPP development in third world countries and DPP deployments all over the world, because it's not just in the Europe that we're deploying DPPs. So I will start with Anne-Christine, okay? And Anne-Christine, I would like you to explain in your perspective what is the DPP from the perspective of innovation for industry.
Thank you for being with us today. So you could see I'm not looking exactly like Stefan Schwalm, but that's what all innovation is all about. But you don't need data for that, right? So yes. So why is data important for innovation and design in particular? Very often in R&D, when the product gets onto the market, we just simply don't know what happens to it. And so in R&D, we have plenty of lab tests to try to mimic how the product is going to be used in real life. And we say, okay, the product should perform as this and this, because that's all we can do in most cases. So there are cases where we can actually reproduce the use of the product, but very often we only have lab tests. Once you have data on the product, once it's put on the market, how it's used, how it's repaired, or where it goes, etc., and you can feed back this information, then you could design your product much more based on its actual use rather than what you think it's going to be used like. And this is very important to understand, because in LCA, very often there are what we call product category rules, which are only hypothesis rules on how products are going to be used, that do not necessarily reflect how they actually are used. So getting feedback or getting information on product use for product innovation is very important. I'll give you an example. In the flooring industry, for years, I don't know for how many years, they talk about the performance of a flooring product based on the use layer. So it's a top layer. The norm says it has to be that thick for the product to perform. If you go to any shop and you buy flooring, they will tell you about the use layer and the thickness of the use layer. In reality, this is absolutely not needed. The use, when it's actually in use, and you can actually trace this, you realize that it's simply not correct. So this has allowed to change the structure, the way the product were designed, and to also provide good information to customers. So this is one of the reasons why data are important. In R&D, very often, you also have to supply information to customers about product performance, product composition, all kind of things. And every customer has a different platform, different requests, different data format. They all ask you, more or less the same questions, but not always exactly the same, or not always in the same format. The DPP is allowing to have, and this is very costly. This is, the cost of providing the information to different customers in different format is extremely costly for companies. And it's all done, using the data coming from innovation and design, by the way. And so having a DPP that is fully decentralized and not in a centralized database will allow to provide this data to whoever asks for the data, whatever the platforms, because it's going to be standardized. So these are two main reasons. There are many more, but I think two reasons why how data can be used.
Right. So that's an important information on the DPP, is that it's about standardized data exchanges to enable circular economy and to enable this data integration for many purposes, including innovation and redesign of products. Right. Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to change completely the perspective. We're going to go to the perspective of the consumer. Right. So, Marion, please, can you explain to us what is the consumer perspective on DPP?
Yes, so I think the first thing to say is that the consumer maybe doesn't have this life cycle in mind. So the first thing of the DPP is certainly giving him an awareness that the product had a life before he purchased it and that the product will have a life after. Because Anne-Christine spoke about this nice feedback loop. I think most of us as consumer, we never thought about what will happen after I bought this product, because we have this idea of ownership, right? We go, we purchase something, maybe we take some information, and this is the beauty of the DPP. It will give you more data points. So when you go on your computer or at the shelf, today you just see the price, and maybe you have other effects, other criteria that are important for you, as example, the brands, the trend, the aesthetics. But you rarely think about what are the next step, how will I use it, will I take it back? Because you consider this, I have a transactional relationship with the product, I take it, and then basically it's gone. I will trash it at some point. We don't have this awareness and education of having this amazing feedback loop that I think is already existing or is seen as an added value in the industrial space. So that is the first thing, is understanding and having a first, let's say, a touch point with life cycle thinking.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that the DPP will help consumers adopt a life cycle thinking for their products.
I think it will be a first step of understanding that I maybe have a role to play in this. So first, I need to see it. So the visibility will be part of it. We can speak, of course, about the data type, right? Because the data available for a company or R&D department will be maybe totally different than the data that a consumer needs to have. So of course we speak about selecting the right data for the consumer and translating it, because if, for instance, I see a CO2 number, I don't know what that means for me. I have to put a context. I have maybe to have a scoring or rating support to understand what does that mean for me. And then is exactly what you were mentioning. How can I use this information to do something differently? And this is where we have to think about the purchasing moments. Should I maybe think about buying some alternative if they exist? Maybe I think about renting, sharing. So we go in the sharing economy, service economy.
Or resell.
Resell economy. And then the second thing is that maybe I can also start thinking about the usage. Then how will I maintain? Is there a value that I can develop? So how long will this product last? Is it something that I can resell? Is it something that has already a take-back model that I can bring back for high value? So the entire incentivization that we need to clarify for the customer. Why do you need to maintain this product? What is in for you to keep it as long as possible in a consumption circle that today we have absolutely no positive motivation to keep it in use? Something doesn't work anymore, you trash it, you buy a second one. So there needs to be something in for you to keep it as long as possible into the loop. And the DPP, if translated with the right format, the right data selection, the right data translation for the consumer, this is a huge chance to get this motivation of not only keeping and extending the life of a product, but also rethinking value. Because my personal dream, having worked a lot in product innovation, is that a quality of a product has nothing to do with the price tag that you see. And today, me as a consumer, I go somewhere, I see just the price. And maybe, as I said, the brand aesthetics, the trends. Now, I would like to be able to see directly, visually, other indicators that matter to me, and start also be educated about what does that mean in terms of value, because price doesn't equal value.
Yeah.
And if I may just have a last link with industry, the fact that we, as consumers, have the chance to rethink a healthy competition, better quality product for us means being able to translate the value beyond the price. Because that enables the industry, the companies, the businesses to stop a race through low cost, but develop for us products that have additional quality features that are not linked only to a price competition.
Thank you, Marion. Now moving over to Xavier, I would like to have your perspective on what is the opportunity, if you see one, as a producer responsibility organization, and your role in the entire DPP ecosystem.
Well, it's first of all, just to I don't know if you are. If you know exactly what a PRO, a product responsibility organization, it's what we call in French ecosystem, an éco-organisme. An éco-organisme is in charge of the collection, recycling, and now repair and reuse of products. And I'm working with electronic equipment and batteries. So it's an organization which is sort of mastering and managing the scheme in France. So from us, the DPP is really a tool that makes circular economy possible. It's such a simple example. Why is that? Because we are not going to track the circular economy with Excel sheets, right? We are talking about millions of products. We are talking about thousands of organizations, companies, etc., all over the world. So don't forget about some specific tools. We need massive tools, and it's DPP is that actually. It's something which ease the circular economy. Of course, it's not all, but it's a way to implement it operationally. So that's very important. For PRO, it's really a way to track and follow and report what's going on. You may know or not, but we are obliged to report to the French ministry, and the French ministry is reporting to European Commission. And as I said, we are financing, we are collecting information, we are and gathering information, and that is really not so easy. And as such, as soon as we are talking about circular economy, it becomes a nightmare. Because when imagine we are talking about millions of products that going to repair. We have thousands of repairs in France, which is increasing every month, and we have millions of repair per year. And the same for reuse, etc., etc. How could you imagine that? So it's really a way to ease and allow us to report and see the improvement. How many repairs have been done this year? What are the improvement in eco-design? The producers are obliged to do some efforts on and to improve the way the products are designed. How do you track that? Simply, well, the DPP will offer some way to track that, and of course we can also it could also a way to fight against fraud, because it's something also which exists in France. There is a lot of money for around the bonus for repair and reuse, and you have some actors who are frauding, and that's a way also to help that. So it's for us it's something very strong. It's really a track and tool and improvement progress report. And last, it's for our producer, which are for customer, which are the producer. It's also a way to ease and simplify the administrative burden. You mentioned burden, but it's a lot of reporting which is asked for producer. We are talking about CSRD. You may know about the CSRD regulation, which is pushing the big enterprise to report to Europe. And DPP is definitely a way to gather information very simply, very quickly, to put to aggregate them and report to the European Commission. So it's for us it's quite interesting, but this simplification of things. And the role of PRO is nothing is written. We are starting on. We are in the process. We have the chance to have to set up an initiative with Beko, Darty, Envie, which are some actors with DPP for 1.5 years. We have reached 600,000 DPP last week, so it becomes quite big. But so nothing is written. We are on the way to understand what's the role of the PRO. What we can say is that, first of all, the PRO are very interesting because we are in the center by law or by contract of all the actors: producers, retailers, repair, reuse, recyclers. We are in the middle of all these stakeholders. So that's a good point. We are pulling data also. We can share the data that are being gathered in the DPP. We can empower, enrich the data which is aggregated at French level. So that's something we could do also. And last, I would say the business case. Who is going to pay for that? Who is going to pay for the DPP? That's we don't know yet. Huh? The use cases are quite more and more clear, but the business case, we don't know yet. So probably, I guess, a PRO may have a position here. You may know that in France, we have the chance to have the AGEC law, which push and force the PRO, like ecosystem, to fund the repair and reuse in France. So we have a bonus. We have create a label, Cali Répare, and all the repairers can use this fund to decrease the price of the repairs. So we may also have a chance here maybe to finance the DPP through these funds, but today it's not possible. The law is against that, but we may have a chance to make it move, and especially for the small enterprise, which and for instance reuse actors, they are not going to pay for that. It will be very difficult for them to pay for DPP. So who is going to do that? So I guess PRO have a chance to maybe to participate to ease that. And very last, I will stop on that. Anne-Christine mentioned data. And of course, it's about the DPP is about data, right? Who is going to structure this data? Who is going to describe the governance of the data? Because this is a question. Who is going to see, what are you going to see? What can you see? What can you share? Which level of aggregation? That's a question mark. So all this data governance, PRO can maybe play the role of moderator, because it's a question of business here, somehow. So we have started to do this for a year already, and it's very interesting to see the things that are, okay, check, we agree, and that's, it's difficult. So it takes time, right? It takes time to structure the data governance. So the PRO can have a role here, maybe. And I stop there.
Yes, so the PRO is really an ecosystem moderator, playing an important role in coordinating all of the different actors, while at the same time seeing a personal benefit in retrieving all of this data for your own reporting needs.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And the French ministry will be very happy also to get some information. But that's something else.
Okay, moving on to Holger. So Holger, you've been involved in many international DPP projects, and can you give an international beyond Europe perspective on DPP?
Yes. I mean, one thing you've said in your introduction is that right now the DPP is specifically founded on a European law. But what we have to understand is that most supply chains are not national, they are not European, they are global. So what we have to create, if we want to create DPPs, even in Europe, is a flow of data that works beyond Europe, and actually players beyond Europe that are willing to provide their data and that they're willing to be part of the system. And so this is part of what our work goes into, and one part of that is try to understand and try to see what is actually happening around the world in terms of DPP. And the one of the news is that for a couple of years now we're not alone in creating DPPs. So there is at least a dozen other countries or regions that are creating their own DPP for very different motivations. For some of them, it's the ability to sell to Europe, so being in conformity with the European DPP. Other countries like China are creating their own systems. Then there are countries that try to put up DPP systems to shelter their markets. So motivations are very different. But still, we are seeing all these kinds of different systems coming up and being developed that all create their own sort of DPP. It's not always the same thing, but it's supposed to do the same services. And what we find, and we create for that, for one instance, is that if we have a dozen different DPP systems coming up that are not able to talk to each other, I mean, the worst thing that can happen, and you said this in the morning, is that we have like 12 QR codes on each product so it can cater for every DPP there is outside in the world. And we will have systems that are not able to transfer data. So one part of our motivation is to create just this conformity or interoperability of different systems to speak and to work with each other. Then the next thing that we are about is that with supply chains, and especially in the circular economy also being global, we have to make sure that the countries of origin and also the countries where products go to after the lifetime in Europe can be part of the system. Otherwise, A, we will not receive the data, and B, we will shut them out of the markets. So part of the work that we do, especially in coordination of or coordination by UNEP, is try to form the alliances and try to inform countries specifically in the developing world, in the global south, about what is happening here, try to get them to the table, try to start discussions also with, for example, European players or other players in the world to create not a unified system, but a system that is interoperable and where DPPs and data can talk to each other. And being in the state we are in right now with the DPP coming up in Europe in February, for batteries, but also loads of other systems, being in development all around the globe. This is a very important inflection point right now, where we really have to see that things start to converge instead of diverge.
I have a question for the audience. How many, please raise your hand if this is the first time you've ever heard of digital product passports today. So everybody in the audience had already heard about DPP before today. I'm quite amazed, but that's wonderful, really, because we could talk about DPP all day, and we actually are. So, okay, thank you. Is there before we continue, is there a question, an urgent question in the audience that somebody wants to ask right now? No emergency question. Okay. Great. So what I see here in this salon is a lot of innovation for reuse of products, right? But I don't know how many of those innovations actually exploit the digital product passport concept at all, right? And so it's a natural thing to imagine that some of these innovations to reuse, these products or these packaging solutions, etc., will in the future adopt digital product passports. So I would like to ask our panel, what is the next step? If you're interested in finding out more about the opportunities offered by DPP, what is your next step? Who wants to answer this question? Holger.
Okay, first of all, I guess it depends on who you are. But one of the major addressees certainly are companies. So if you're a company, if you want to do the next step, first of all, I think is try it yourself. Try to see if you can create your own DPPs, what the status of your company in there is. And the good thing is that for all projects we have done with companies in introducing DPPs, it has never been a failure in terms of things not working, and instead most of the times it's there's been many learnings done, and many of those are quite unexpected. It's a bit of what Anne-Christine hinted to earlier. We're seeing a lot of things, making the data converge, tearing down data silos, trying to make the data talk that haven't been seen before. So there's a lot of surprises coming up there. If you're a country, or if you're a government, I should say, I guess the first thing you should do is try to see what the others are doing. Try to understand what it leads to, what the motivation is. And then, I guess for everyone, try to see what's in it for yourself. What's the purpose for you putting up a DPP?
Thank you. Marion?
Yeah, I would also take the two angles, from the company side and from the individual side. So for both, I think the DPP is first a transparency tool, right? So it's getting interested as a consumer about your product. Try to find some data. As a company is like, try to collect the data. I'm sure that maybe you have an operational team, a compliance team having a lot of upstream, downstream data that have never been put together, centralized, analyzed. So first just try to get this first transparency step. It doesn't have to be in a format of a DBP or any structured format yet. Just have a honest analysis and try to see where you are. And then the second, to me, objective of the DBP is the usefulness, the action that you can take out of this first visibility and transparency information. And for this, I think as an individual or as the business, you can also start rethinking, again, the full life cycle and see where you are, what can you do at each steps, maybe see left and right. Do you have all the stakeholders that are working on the same product, start to open collaboration, partnership, and try to see if you can change something in your professional or individual behavior. Maybe simply pausing, thinking before you buy something in a more automatic way. And as a business, I mean, there are so many things to rethink from, as Anne-Christine mentioned, designing something differently, but also taking responsibility on when you put a product on the market, you have the responsibility as creator of this item, as having used materials on this finite earth, to have thought in advance what is the take back, circle back model of this product, thinking disassembly, dismantling, remanufacturability, worst case recycling. But this is something that I think on the long term is what we aim to, is rethinking production patterns and consumption patterns.
Thank you, Marion. Xavier?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you are in the business of electro product, as a producer, a retailer, repairer, or reuse players, or maybe recyclers, you can join our initiative. We have started 1 year ago. At the end of this year, we will have reached 1 million TPP for products. And what we have done is we have created TPP for new product, for of course, in China, in some plants, of course, but not only, but also for products that have been put on the market and sold some years ago, as soon as they are repaired. So for repaired product, we create DPP, and the same for reuse, and same for the one which are recycled. And it's very interesting to see that the angles are different. The problems are different. Access to data, you mentioned. It's really something to consider. It's not always so easy to gather data, and how your IT is prepared, and we have made a lot of discussion, presentation of our initiative, and some actors and players, I wouldn't say any names, of course, but say that's very interesting, but we are not ready. We are not ready for that because we do not have the downstream links, contract with repairers, for instance, or So we need some time. We will come back to you next year. Okay, guys, think about that. No, but it's so you can join. You can join our initiative. We started with a few members. We are 5 companies right now, with big players, and some, I wouldn't say give any names, but some big players also will join very quickly and very soon the initiative. So we will probably explode the number of DPP, and it's real product, and we are not about experimentation, whatever. It's a real initiative. Customers can read. So we also have statistics on how many DPP are really read by customer and which information are they looking at. So this is really, really interesting. And that's it. And we have a dashboard, a real-time dashboard of what's going on in France on repair, reuse, and it's wow.
Xavier, do you have any numbers on how much more circular products have become thanks to the DPP? Are you starting to get that kind of perspective yet?
Oh, it's too early. I would say I would love to give you some figures. Of course, we are tracking that, but it's very difficult to know at the end. Of course, how much you prolong the lifetime of the product. We see the number of repair which is increasing dramatically in France, really like that, which is excellent. But yeah, can we transform that in environmental performance? We are working on that, but it's not. It's too early to give robust data on that. But we will probably next year start to have some results.
Okay, thank you. In case there are questions, please just raise your hand and I'll take your question. I wanted.
So I don't have to.
Yes. I wanted to give the floor to you. I wanted you to talk, if you don't mind, a little bit how the DPP is about digital transformation of an organization.
Actually, I was going to answer that question, but starting from the question I had asked earlier. So, what's next? So first, I think that next is to stop thinking that the DPP is a compliance thing. If an organization just looks at the DPP as a regulatory burden, it's never going to create any value. So this is number one. Number two is to engage the company, all the functions, to collectively think of what is it the DPP could bring to the company. There is so much knowledge in the company that there are a lot of opportunities that are coming from the different functions, and that also will stop the silos between the functions, because there is no circular economy in silos. So really use the power of the organization to identify opportunities based on things that are already working. So knowing that I know how the textile product, fashion product, how many times being resold, will help me as a marketing person to know how much, if I was to start the secondary market business, how much I could sell. So what is this? What is the value of a second-hand product that I have designed? And it will then go back to the design team, say, okay, how can you improve the value even further? Rebounding on what Xavier said, knowing how many times it's been repaired is obviously pushing it back to the design team to stop, to make product with spare parts, knowing what is breaking, how long it's been used, make it, etc., etc. So, and this is going to be the whole company developing value. Once you've identified a potential business opportunity, then understand where your data are, because the data very often in companies are totally scattered in different systems, different functions. And if this is not getting organized, then it's becoming very difficult. So this is certainly the way to prepare for the DPP, to create value. And that requires transformation, because then the teams need to work together, the systems need to talk to each other, the way you store your data, the way you share your data. So this is very beyond creating new business opportunities.
Right. So here you're talking inside the company, sharing the data inside, which is sometimes less easy than what you could imagine. But coming back to what you were saying, the fact that the DPP project for an organization is really a cross-functional project. One of the issues that I hear all the time is that inside a company, they don't know who is the DPP project owner, which department should own the project. And most of the time, the CEO thinks that it's a sustainability department problem and project. The sustainability department should manage like the DPP project. And this is sometimes not the best way to get value out of the DPP, because then they will see necessarily reporting, administrative reporting burden. They will necessarily see the DPP as a regulatory compliance tool. And so, in your opinion, Anne-Christine, which department of an organization should be the DPP leader team?
So first, we're not talking about circular ecology, right? We're talking about circular economy. Economy means business. So it's an operational thing. It has to be with the people that have the P&L. These are the people who should drive the DPP, not the P&L, P&L, profit and loss. The business people, the people that, those who count the money, that create, this. No, but seriously, because we're talking about economy, we're not talking about ecology, we're not talking about reporting, we're not talking about, this is critical. That's why it's a tool to transform the economic model, avoided waste. So it's a very different thinking. It can't only be driven from the top. It has to be at the business level, either the CEO or a business line level, whatever, but it has to, and then it's all the function at the executive team that should be in charge of making sure the DPP is being put in place in the company.
Thank you. Any other remarks on that? Marion?
I'm with the sad diagnostic. I have an experience on product management, business strategy, and then I moved to sustainability. And I can tell you how sad I was discovering I could work for a greater purpose, that sustainability, circular economy was really what I wanted to do. But that suddenly I lost investments, my team members, all the budgets, everything, because, as you said, I was suddenly sustainability, and they don't know where to put sustainability. I reported to marketing, then we discussed finance, and I ended up in the operational side of the things, where discussion were mainly about, optimization, being compliance, and my fear and my hope is that the DPP is an opportunity to regain the momentum of sustainability, and for me, at minimum, to put DPP projects under the product and tech team, because of the power, at least with my experience, the motivation, the entire enthusiasm, all this kind of cool stuff, the trendy stuff that we hear in the tech industry that I used to be part of. And now when I hear, we talked about that, all the AI conference, all the digitalization projects, I hope that we can on board in this trendy momentum with a sustainability and circularity purpose, using the DPP as an enabler. So that would be my hope, and this is why I'm using the DPP to regain a little bit of traction for sustainability outcomes.
Thank you. Xavier, did you want to add something?
Yeah, it's a hard question, and you're right. It's easy. The thing is to understand the DPP will benefit to all stake players. All stake players will benefit from it. Producers, retailers, repair, reuse, everyone. But of course, if you want to speed up, if you want to make the DPP a reality, it's a question of business, of course. And it's exactly what Anne-Christine said. It's a circular economy. It's a mindset, a change of mindset, very important. So you have to involve somehow at least the management, the top management of it, maybe the marketing, maybe the one who is in charge of the services. The DPP is a fantastic tool to create new services that does not exist yet on product. A fantastic tool, but you have to dig in. You have to put the hand in the mud. So if you want to speed up, I think, top management, maybe marketing services are the right person. Say, guys, it's a question of money, of business, and you may accelerate the process.
Holger, from an international perspective, who are the people you're talking to? Are you talking to governments? Are you talking to development agencies? Who are you talking to?
It depends a lot. Governments, yes. Trade unions, companies, more or less. We'd love to talk to much more to NGOs and consumer representatives, which is not happening a lot. And I would like to answer also your question from a policy. We need to stop from a policy side of things, because the things that you see in policy is it's either environmental, or it's digital, or it's economic, and so nobody feels responsible.
Yeah, exactly.
And because it's a cross-cutting thing, just as Xavier mentioned for companies, it's also something that needs to be cross-cutting on the governmental side.
Yep. Exactly. Thank you. So on that, thank you very much to my panelists for participating in this roundtable. I hope that you found it informative. Please come and ask us questions. We can talk about this topic all day, and we're here tomorrow as well. And yes, there we have a dedicated village at the front of the exposition, dedicated to DPP, with the presence of many DPP service providers who will be able to talk about their use cases in many different industries. And here you will see DPPs apply to practically every single product group, product sector that you can imagine. So please come and visit us. Thank you.